Stuff this chicken. I've made up the stuffing here. I've grated an onion, some apricots I've chopped up, and breadcrumbs with an egg. So that's our stuffing already. I've melted some butter in a saucepan, and this is a piece of muslin that I think I used for my Christmas turkey. I'm going to soak this in the melted butter, so that's ready to wrap the chicken in when it's boned. So we're all ready as soon as the chicken is boned and ready for stuffing. So that's all saturated in the butter. Okay, so I've got 3 knives here. I've got a chopping knife to go through the joints, a large paring knife, and a filleting knife. So the first thing to do is to cut the strings on the chicken. All gone. And then I'm going to cut off the bits of the wings that haven't got any meat on them and put those into my stock pot. Okay. And then I'm just going to cut round the sort of neck underneath the knuckle of the leg, so that when we bone out the leg, it'll easily come away. So that's sort of preparation for later on in the boning process. Just make sure the skin's all released on the bone, which it is down there. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the chicken onto its back, and I'm going to make a cut down the backbone of the chicken. Chicken oysters, which are in here. It's a nice little fleshy bit of the chicken. Fill those there. And then I'm going to follow the rib cage of the chicken round till I get to the joint of the legs and wings. So you just take your time. There we are, getting to the joint there. So I'm just going to dislocate the joint there. Feel where that is. Now I can get the knife into the joint, so that'll come away from the chicken. So there's your oyster there. Through the joint of the leg. Yeah. So the principle of boning a chicken is the same for doing really any bird, however big or small it is. So that's the leg now loose from the rib cage. And now go back to the wing. Where the joint is, because that's what I'm looking for. Here it is, and the joint. So I'm just going to release that then you can see where the breast is, and you need to just work round the rib cage of the chicken to release all the meat as close as you can to the rib cage. And don't worry at this stage about boning out your legs of your chicken, because we'll do that once we've got the breast meat away from the chicken. And just feel with your fingers where the bones are. I've got the wishbone in here. Just release a bit more down here. So now I'm right at the top of the chicken. So that's got your legs on one side, wings on the other, and your breast removed from this side of the chicken. So now we're going to go and work on the other side of the chicken, and then we'll do the very last bit at the end when all the flesh has been released from the carcass. And depending on whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you will find it easier doing one side than the other. To the joint. So a chicken is really good to start with because it's a fairly economical bird to practice on before you perhaps were to try boning something smaller like a quail or a duck or something. The principle of boning is, you know, if you were boning a rabbit or anything, it's the same process of scraping the meat off the bone. Get the wing. There we are, nearly through the wing joint there. There we go. Get the joint. Oyster. I'm actually going to turn it the other way around now because I find it easier going this way. Just need there to release the oyster. Joint. There's my joint. Yeah, through the joint. the rib cages. There it is. The rib cage there. Wing. Just release the wing there. Now, you can feel I'm coming close to the backbone here. Yes, so just feel, and this is the most precarious part because you do not want to go through the skin on the very top of the chicken. That'll the appearance won't look so good when you serve it. Down the wishbone here. I need to fish that one out in a minute. So that's all the main part of the carcass. Managed to leave the wishbone in, and as you can see, we haven't gone through the backbone there, and you've got your breast and your breast there, your wings and your legs. So now all we've got to do is to remove the bones from the legs and the wings. So there's a little bit of the wishbone that I left in. So it's just really a question of scraping the meat off the bones, and it's very straightforward until you get to a joint, and then it's slightly trickier, and you've obviously got the sinews as well. So this is just that bit of the wishbone that snapped off when I was, there we are. Just remove that. So there are your false fillets of your chicken breast there. Okay, so to do the leg, you grab hold of the top of the joint and you're just going to scrape down the bone, which comes away quite easily, all the way down to the joint. And then it just becomes slightly less straightforward when you get to the joint, because you have all the tendons you've got to negotiate. Just keep scraping down. Just cut through the little white tendons carefully so you can keep on scraping down. Once put past the joint, which you are now, it then becomes easy again. And this will then take you right down to the point where you release the skin around the bone, and the bone comes out like that. And then you turn your leg, and there you have beautifully jointed leg with no bones in there. And then you just do the same thing with the wing, which is a little bit more fiddly. Some people like to take it all the way to the end. Other people stop at the first joint. It's entirely up to you. And if you've got something that you can do with the wing tip, then that makes life a little bit easier, just to chop it off and use it for maybe some barbecued chicken wings. So there's really not a lot of meat on the wings anyway. Lots of sinews in the wings from all the, obviously, tendons from the wings. There we are. And the joint, tricky bit. You can see why a lot of people tend to stop at this point. Because you're really actually not getting an awful lot of meat gain for your trouble of removing the bone. To leave mine there. There we go. So you just turn that inside out. There we are. You have your boned chicken. your legs, your 2 wings. Right, so now we're going to stuff it. I'm going to lay my muslin out on my chopping board and put my chicken on top. Now I'm going to get my stuffing, place it in the middle. So basically your stuffing is replacing the rib cage. You can put some stuffing in the legs if you like, or depends if you want to leave it looking more like a chicken, or whether you want to have it rolled up like into a roll, which really depends what you're going to do with it. If you were going to serve it for a cold buffet, you might well want to actually incorporate the legs more into the breast, so that you've got a perfect roll of chicken to carve up. But if you're serving it as just a jointed roast, you might like it to have more of an appearance that it was once a chicken, in which case you would want to maybe stuff the legs and leave them sort of slightly separate. So you're just going to pull the skin over stuffing and sort of mould it to the shape that you want. Put the wings in there. So now I've got that to the shape that I would like. I'm going to cook it with the legs in under there. And I can get my muslin, fold it over. You can use clean J cloths for this. I'd maybe boil them in some boiling water first to make sure you get out any chemicals that might be in the manufacture of them. And then you're going to tie this up like a Christmas cracker. You want to pull that nice and tight, so when as it cooks nice and firm. And then when you're twisting your ends of your crackers, just make sure you're twisting them all in the same direction. So I'm just going to grab some string and then tie those. So I'm just going to tie the ends with some butcher's string. So I'm actually going to do 1, 2 knots. That gives you a nice firm knot there. It won't slip. The same on the other side. 1, 2 twists. Tight, and then a bow. And then that's ready to go on a rack in your roasting tin. Then I'm going to cook it on a rack in a roasting tin. So I'm just going to turn it round, because you remember that this is now breast side up of the chicken, and that's the bit that you want lovely and brown. So it's actually sat on the fold that you've made. So we're going to put that in the oven for an hour and a half at 200 degrees C, and then we will cook our roast potatoes above it. So the chicken's been in the oven for an hour and 20 minutes, and it's rested for 10 minutes. So now I'm just going to unparcel it, and then it'll be ready to be carved up. So Be a little bit careful when you remove it because you don't want to remove the skin off the chicken. There's your chicken, nice and brown on top. Ready to carve with no bones in it. If you enjoyed that video, don't forget to like and subscribe and put a comment in the comment box down below to let us know what you'd like to see next.